What stupid myth do too many people believe? That goldfish are meant to live in bowls. The average goldfish gets about 14 inches long in proper conditions, and because they are such dirty animals, they generate ammonia, like you wouldn't believe. They need heavy proper filtration. Yes, you should have 20 gallons per goldfish. That means 2 goldfish go into a filtered 40-gallon tank. No, an air pump is not a filter. No, a plant is not a filter. No, you cannot put other tropical fish with your goldfish, because goldfish require lower temperatures, 65 degrees Fahrenheit, while tropical fish require higher temperatures, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Goldfish can live up to 25 years. Putting them in a bowl means you are stunting their growth, but not the growth of their inner organs. They stay 2 inches, while their organs keep growing inside of them, which is why they die in 2 years, instead of living to be 25 years old, and over a foot long. That turned more into a rant than anything, but oh well. Brought to you by a Humble Aquatics, associate at a pet store. Because this got upvoted, I would like to add, please do not release your goldfish into public/wild ponds, rivers, or lakes. They are super dirty animals, and doing this is terrible for the environment. If you cannot take care of your goldfish, or can't afford to upgrade your tank, please relinquish them to your local pet or aquatics store. They will be more than happy to rehome them safely. 3. You get arthritis by cracking your knuckles. All it is just gas bubbles popping. Also, some guy did a long-term experiment, several decades I think, where he constantly cracked all knuckles in one hand and left the other one alone. After the experiment was over, they took x-rays and tests to find that both hands were practically identical in terms of condition. The McDonald's hot coffee case. People think this lady, Stella, decided I'm too stupid to realize coffee is hot. I'll drive really fast while it's in my lap, then spilled it on herself and sued McDonald's for shit ton of money. Now, what actually happened? Stella went to McDonald's with her grandson and got coffee. When her grandson was driving, it spilled. Stella accepted full responsibility for the spill, but the coffee was dangerously hot. So hot that Stella suffered third-degree burns all over her legs. So she originally asked McDonald's to pay her medical bills, which were extremely low for a giant corporation like McDonald's. But McDonald's barely offered her anything, even though they were the ones at fault, as their coffee was dangerously hot, and they had received a lot of complaints about this, over 750 in fact. Anyway, Stella, since McDonald's refused to give her the money she needed, was forced to go to court. She won, and McDonald's was fined 2 days' coffee sales. The reason people believe this myth? Because McDonald's lawyers are really good at their jobs. They covered up the incident by making up and spreading this frivolous lawsuit story. Edit, as u/Tuka Cheddar and u/Vampirbeat have pointed out, the car was actually parked when the spill happened, and Stella's grandson was in the driver's seat. No one was actually driving the car. Edit 2. Several of you have pointed out that the coffee also fused together her labia and caused third-degree burns on her genitals in addition to her legs. This just further shows how dangerous the extremely high heat of the coffee was. That blood is blue in your veins, but turns red when exposed to the air. Total bullshit. Blood is always red, it just goes from dark crimson to bright, almost pink depending on how much oxygen is present in your blood. The blue color of your veins is just that, the color of the vein tissue, because of how light shifts as it passes through the skin. If someone persists, ask them what color the blood is when they have it drawn, because it's not in contact with the air. Hint, it's red. Edit, corrected statement regarding where the blue is coming from. In any event, the blood inside the arteries and veins is red. The most annoying one to me is the idea that in America you pay the percent from your highest tax bracket on the whole of your income. I've heard people brag to me about how they know to clock out early on certain days so that they don't make enough to go up a tax bracket, as if you would make less money by making more money. I've heard of people literally turning down raises because they think they'll make more with their current salary. I wonder if the company offering them the raise feels a duty to explain to them that that's not how it works. I guess it's not their job to educate the employees on taxes, so who knows. Edit. Yes, it is true that in some situations, like very low income scenarios, where you are receiving government assistance like Medicaid, it may result in you losing that assistance if you get a pay increase. But taxes will never result in you making less as a result of a raise, ever. You don't need to wait 24 hours to report a missing person. If you sincerely think someone is missing, then report it. The faster that a missing person report is filed, the better chance there is that the person will be found. This is especially crucial when it comes to missing children. Found that out recently. I go into work and my coworker was giving me a rundown of the store and said, oh, by the way, Gretchen was missing last night, but we found her. I thought he meant she disappeared from her station and was slacking off. Nope, apparently she got off her shift late the night before and didn't return home. Her mom was watching her kids and was concerned when she didn't come home. No one from work could reach her, so they called the cops. Looked at our cameras and see her getting into an unknown car with a man. Turns out she went to the hotel with this guy not too far from her house for some late night action, but didn't think to call her mom or friends or anyone. SMH. Despite what many people think, Albert Einstein never failed math. The confusion likely comes from the grading system, but this myth has been around for a long time and used by people as a sort of motivation. When he was shown a clipping from Ripley's Believe It or Not, where that myth originated, he responded, I never failed in mathematics. Before I was 15 I had mastered differential and integral calculus. That everything will magically turn out okay. I know a guy that makes about $11/HR and has 3 kids. He turns down better paying jobs, doesn't plan for the future at all. Always had a big list of material things that he wanted out of life, has done nothing to make it happen. That's like the joke where a man is drowning in the ocean and a boat comes by and asks to need help, and the man says no, God will save me, and he keeps drowning, and another boat comes by and asks if he needs help, and he says no, God will save me, and he keeps shouting and drowning, and third boat comes by and says, hey, you look like you need help. He says no, God will save me. And then when he finally dies from drowning and get to heaven, he asks God, why didn't you help me? And God says, I sent 3 boats, what more could I have done? That companies value your hard work when you consistently go above and beyond. If you put in 100% effort all the time, congrats. That's your baseline. Edit. To clarify, I'm not saying be lazy or that hard work does not lead to better opportunities/advancement. All I'm saying is that more often than not, being the biggest contributor means you're more likely to be taken advantage of. I've worked in startups, agencies, and corporate 9-5s, and there is always somebody overworked and overstressed because people know he/she will get the job done. Rant. Institutions cannot love you. You can and will be replaced from every job you ever leave. You were always one of many applicants they had to negotiate about hiring. These are the things I like to remind myself of whenever I start to feel guilty about possibly leaving a job. And yeah, sometimes it's the personal relationships with coworkers that you might lose, but if they only like you when you're working with them, they never valued you more than the company did anyway. That people in the past got married and had children in their early teens. Historically speaking, most girls wouldn't enter puberty until the mid to late teens. For example, in 1850s Britain, the average girl started puberty at 16. In Norway during the same period, the average age of puberty onset was 18. Even outside of that biological requirement, there was almost always an economic side to marriage and childbirth as well. For much of recorded history, most people got married and had children in their late teens or even the early to mid-20s. It has to be my least favorite historical myth, right up there with medieval people didn't drink water. It's ignorance of biology at best, and an attempted excuse for child molestation at worst. That nuclear power is negative for the environment/climate, or unsafe. It is the safest energy source we have, on par with the very best for life cycle CO2 emissions, 0 during operation, obviously, and, no, the waste isn't a big problem. It can be stored, as in Finland, or reused. Fact is that we need nuclear as part of the solution to climate change. People need to realize this, for politicians to start doing something about it. Literally anything you've heard about better fish. No, bettas do not live in puddles or like dirty water. Bettas are only found in mud puddles because they have a knack for surviving some shitty conditions during droughts and actually live in shallow streams, ponds, and rice flats. Betta fish also do not like small spaces. The smallest tank I would put a betta in is a 3-gallon filtered and heated tank with plants for the fish to hide and sleep in. On this note, the myth that fish are easy pets is 100% bullshit. Bettas are considered the easiest, but you have no idea how much I stress over the well-being of my 3 bettas and their tanks. LMAO. Fish bowls are also animal abuse, and if you have one I would strongly recommend to do some research and get your fish into a proper setup.